Yeah. Ah, thank you. Thank you
show
very
we really
much.
love you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, great. Thank you.
You must be getting dozens and tons of these awards, but they still are important to you, aren't they?
Yes. Because it's telling me, first thing I ask, is that sales?
It is.
And it is. So that means that the people like it, because that's what I made it. I made that album for, you know, the people. And so, collecting them is not, it's not egotistical we're talking about. We're talking about that I have pleased my fans. They like it. They're buying it. So, it's fulfilling.
In the program, the making of We Are the World, Jane Fonda says, and I quote, "Here they met the living legends of rock and roll, Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Michael Jackson, and Tina Turner. Have you come to terms with yourself as a legend?"
Well, I've been around a long time, huh? I don't think I think about it. You know, I'm totally aware of the fact is that my career started way back when, but I really don't think a lot about legends and power and people following what I do. I think it's because I don't write songs, I don't produce myself. I think if I was in the production end of it, but I'm performing, you know, it's just performing and enjoying my work, so I don't think so much about titles.
I've just read your book, Tina, and it certainly is not a book about sort of somebody who thinks of herself as a super megastar or legend. To me, it's a very private and warm and in many ways shocking book. What made you write it?
I was really, every press conference was asking me about my past.
Yeah.
It was beginning, I was becoming angry. I didn't want to talk about something that I was trying to finish or that I had finished, and almost just tying me to a life that I finished already. I finished that phase of my life. So I felt, there were two other books written before this one, and I felt that it wasn't really accurate. It was just clips taken from other magazines and all, and just felt it was time. Well, maybe if I write the book and really let everybody know how it was, maybe they'd get off my back about singing that music going back and that, you know, my goodness, how much can you give to the people? So I just felt it would stop the questions, because there it would be. And then they wanted to know why. So.
Yeah, you can't win.
No.
We're not going to go into details about your married life. You were married to Ike Turner for 16 years and he mistreated you. But I have to tell you that after I read the book, I went back and saw some recordings of the two of you. And I personally started hating this guy when you seemed to be having a good time with him on stage. Can you explain or describe the mixed emotions you must have had?
Well, look what you're doing to yourself. You're going way back into time getting upset, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's like now, it's almost as if you had a boss and you were going into work every day and he frustrated you, but you needed the work. So you worked under stress, you cried, or you did whatever you had to do. That was how it was. It was just years and years of that.
Right.
It becomes almost like a way of life until you find a way out. It was sort of like, there's a lot of people, I'm sure in one way or another, still doing it, but not under a marriage basis, but under the basis of a job, or just any given situation. It's not sometimes just in a marriage those things happen. They happen in almost everyday life in different forms. It comes in different forms, those situations.
Sure.
Depression and anger and frustrations and hate.
Considered how you, as an artist, but also as a private person, may have influenced other women of today.
Well, let's see now, what do I think about that? I don't do a lot of thinking about influencing people and all of that, you know. I think I don't do a lot of thinking about it because my basic reputation is raunchy rock singer. What woman wants to be a raunchy rock singer first? So you're not thinking that you're influencing anyone there, because everybody wants to be glamorous and beautiful on stage, and I'm just the opposite of that. So I didn't put much thought into influence in that sense. I think now that this book said to the people, well, here's another one that's going, this is the same problems you are, this is what she did. And so it's just a matter of like thinking what you want for yourself in your life, and don't give up on what you want. That's what basically if you read the book, you would think, and she's still going. So that's what I think basically the influence on women is now, is to say, like, just stop thinking about age and all the things that's been done already. You can't do anything about what's been done. It only takes time and stress. Just get out and start your life and try to still enjoy it. So I think that's the influence from the book.
Yeah, that's you as a private person, but even as a stage performer, you are unique and you always have been. But without you, there couldn't have been like a person like Janis Joplin, I think, because you sort of broke the rules all the time. I mean, you are warm, sexy, and rough, but you are not sort of playing on the feminine part of yourself.
No, I'm just a real natural person. You know, I don't really get caught up in a lot of things that bother other people. My attitude about the life is that you should try to enjoy it as much as you can, because the world within itself is one big school and one big education, and you have to try to make the best of it. I went through my times in my life, and guys, when I'm on the stage, I'm working. I'm trying to I'm thinking things like, I was standing on stage. Mick Jagger came once to see the production and what was happening in my work, and he decided to come on stage, you know. And you're on stage, you're thinking about your work and what you want to do, and I'm thinking, well, what do I want out of my career? And I said, well, I want to pack the football stadiums like Bowie and like Jagger and like these people, right? Springsteen. So if you're going to think that, you're not thinking so much about what other women thinking of you. You're thinking of like where you want to go with your career. And when Mick walked on stage, we were in a very sort of remote place in America, and we thought, well, maybe they might not know what's happening because, I mean, it's not billed Mick Jagger, blah, blah, blah. So we said, okay, if when we start the music, if they sort of don't really know, I'll just sort of go, you know what, forget it. It was one of those nights when you figure, oh goodness, he would have been here tonight, because the crowd was, they just came to see, and they were wondering, and they were sort of sitting. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't, Mick came on stage, that whole place went wild. And I said, all right, there it is, you know. You think, what do you want to do? You're not thinking so much about what people think of me and I. You're thinking, what do I want to do? Where do I want to get? What do I have to do to pack a stadium? What am I going to do with this career of mine in terms of leaving some mark? It's like, Aretha Franklin could have packed those stadiums or whatever, and she didn't. We're talking about, if you're going to do it, see what that feels like to walk out on a stage with millions of people there. They really came to see you. I get just a rush from that, from singing all those years and seeing the other guys do it and then wondering then what it would be like, you know. So I don't think about I, the woman, and what the other women think about me. I'm thinking about where I'm going and what I want to do. I still enjoy doing that, yes. I still cover on stage, yes. It's like listening to the radio. You don't just listen to one artist and when he's off you turn the radio off. You listen to all the music. I like to sing all the music, and I sing mine and everybody's, you know, so that's sort of my attitude about the singing.
Yeah, and that's performing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's performing. I really feel that way.
Because a lot of people feel they have to do everything themselves.
Yeah, this is my music, this is what I have to offer you, this is my work. Oh, fine, give me yours, I'll take it. And great, because I like to sing. I like to sing other people's work. You know, you don't get a chance to record it because they're keeping it for themselves. Fine, if they could give it to me, I'd love to sing it. But since they don't, then I just go on stage and do it.
Yeah, like also, let's stay together, and even back to Proud Mary, you made it your song. Yeah. You made Proud Mary your song, even though it was huge.
It just became a style. I wasn't a recording artist, so to speak. I didn't write my own hits. I covered, and people liked it, and people still do like it and still expect it a bit, you know. It's just that, I guess when you get at a certain place in the world, society is like, once you start getting hit albums and all, they sort of like, not the proper thing to do is to cover, you know. And Christ, I'm saying, but the people don't care, you know. They want it, they want to hear it, they want to see it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't worry about a lot of things that people do worry about.
I'd like to talk a bit about filming movies. It was Tommy that got you going, was it? Being the acid queen.
Yeah.
And that is not, I mean, the acid queen is totally opposite to your attitude towards drugs, isn't it?
You know what? To tell you about how I think, I didn't even know it was, I thought that was her name. I didn't know she was promoting drugs.
You didn't know what acid was?
I didn't think. I thought that was her name. I thought it was a gypsy.
Yeah.
that named herself Acid Queen for some dramatic reason, you know? I mean, I'm always in fantasy land. I rather like myself, though. I mean, it's how I think, it's how I am. But anyway, I was on the set, and it became even more magic because there's this huge machine that I got to turn into, right? And then all of a sudden, after 1 week of shooting, we got to this area where this set of twins came with this pink pillow with this needle, and I went, it's drugs! And, okay, so they made a cut, and we laughed about it, and I went, well, after all, it is acting, okay. And so, because I thought that people was going to think that I was doing drugs, I was promoting drugs, you know, I didn't like that. But it was okay.
Yeah, it was a movie.
Yeah, it was a movie.
What do you get out of acting, film acting, that you sort of don't get out of performing on stage?
Pretending, being something else, being not myself. Acting is, to me, pretending to be something else or someone else. On stage, I also pretend to be someone else through the songs, whatever the words are. It doesn't mean that I'm the woman that would physically walk off stage and start doing a lot of things that I'm singing. But it means I get to pretend to be that character that would do that. So I play with acting in my work. Like people watch people and write songs. Well, that's not a fortune of mine, so I watch people and perform, and I play with that creatively.
How did you feel about shooting Mad Max?
Ah, it was wonderful.
You love that character.
I wanted to do
relate
more.
to her?
Yeah, I wanted to fight Mel. I wanted to do something down in Thunderdome, you know, I felt we should have. I think the people expected it, you know. But they was basically cleaning up the concept of Mad Max, you know, they're really trying to get the attention of the Academy and all. And I enjoyed doing it, but I really wished it had been like, you know, Mad Max 2. Because that is what I was really attracted to. But just being there and acting and the whole get-up of the costume and being on a movie set, but doing something as dramatic as that, pretending to be an old queen that built up a town. I thought it was wonderful.
You are a success in whatever you're doing, dancing, singing, even acting, but you have no sort of proper training in any of these fields, do you?
Just my life, always watching movies and pretending to be the stars and always watching and listening. I was a very curious young girl, always watching people. And so I think the acting comes from, not from a school necessarily, but just watching and seeing how it's done. It's all just pretending and being something else, you know, really becoming something else.
Is it true that you turned down the main character in Color Purple?
Was that the main character?
I don't know. or some other character?
Yeah, I didn't take it. It wasn't right. A singer. I'm singing on stage every night. Why do I want to sing in a movie? I mean, you know, there's much more exciting things out there than to go on the movie and sing. I want exciting parts in my work and acting. I like, you know, like Terminator and how do you call a lot of the scientific exciting parts. I don't like common. I don't want to do a common role. I can watch them and watch someone else play the part and enjoy it, but I don't want to do it. That's not what I want to do, so I wouldn't enjoy it.
Now let's return to performing live on stage, because I have this feeling that the stage is where your home and your heart is. It's true. And after more than 25 years on the road, you still have all the energy and
Yeah.
you keep going.
Yeah, you know, how can I explain what you like to do? When you enjoy doing something. I've been singing and dancing all my life, and I've enjoyed it all my life. I'm always still kind of singing and dancing in everyday life as well. So on stage it's become something just really natural and just like a glove that fits, you know. I think the view that the people get is because it looks like it's such hard work. Well, it is hard work, but it's also fulfilling and it's also fun. And I don't think I could do it continuously if I didn't enjoy it now. And I think if I didn't enjoy it, the people would know. And I also think that instead of filling halls now, they would be getting less. Years ago, I did make the statement that I don't perform physically and verbally to men. I don't like to try to invite that from the opposite sex. Years ago, when I started to do that, I found that there would be women negative looking at me like they didn't like me. And I started working to the women because I was basically saying, I'm not here as a threat. I'm here to perform, you know. And then eventually, through the course of the evening, they would start smiling. It became a psychological thing of like working, in a way, to the women, because you know, like, the guys are the guys and they're basically there, but the women could be more critical than the guys. So it's a psychological play that I do now. I don't think it's as obvious now in these days because I have been accepted, but in the earlier days I did use that strategy and it was something that worked. You know, people ask me all kinds of things, why do I wear fishnet stockings if I don't think I'm sexy? And I said, gosh, I'll bet you when those people designed those stockings, they weren't thinking about sex, they were just thinking about the design, you know? I wear my clothes because they're practical. It's like you don't get runs in stockings. You don't have no problems with the fishnets. They're like iron, you know, and leather and all of that stuff doesn't show perspiration. You're thinking practical, but people don't think you think practical on stage. They think that you're up there showing off. Gosh, I'm on stage, I'm working with the band, I'm keeping tempos under control, I'm doing so much. Everybody's looking right past that. They're thinking that I'm posing and that I'm, you know, up there 1 hour just playing and posing. And so it's not a pose at all. It's like a lot of work. I think it all comes through what you're doing. You don't have to work at doing anything. If you got good music, you got good songs, you simply perform it. And the people are going to read through whatever they need to read through to get. So I don't need to. I can't say for somebody else. Maybe they need to do that pretending, you know, to the feminist mood and the playing. I don't need to do that. I like the dancing and the running and the singing rather than the posing and the, you know, the other. It's just my style of what I like because I'm honestly having a good time.
One thing that's quite unique about you is that you've performed with so many other artists on stage. I mean, you've been there with Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, Eric Clapton, David Bowie, who have you, Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, even Anne Margaret.
Well, you can go past Anne Margaret, you can go back to James Brown, Ray Charles. There were quite a few artists in the earlier days that I worked with also. It's always been that way because when I started with, it was all male singers when I got started. I mean, there were very few female singers. So I think it became habit of being with the guys, the only girl with the guys, you know. And so when I just started continuing my career, I was attracted more to the style of how the fellas were because it's almost like a tomboy. You're always out there with them, and so you just latch on, you know.
Are there any favorites of yours in this lot?
I think Mick Jagger is still my favorite because we are alike in our work. We enjoy it, we play with it, and we know what we're doing. We're enjoying it, and we know what we're doing in terms of not having to really pretend at being anything except enjoying the music and enjoying the moment.
And the word is that you taught him to dance?
No, he hates that anyway. He says his mother taught him to dance. Mick started to, I would say, like I am influenced by his music. He was influenced when I worked with him in '66 and he saw girls dancing. It gave him an idea. Yeah, dance, because he was playing tambourine, you know. And I think it was an influence, but it wasn't. I was like he was in the dressing room and we were dancing and carrying on. And he started to do it because he wanted to do it, but it wasn't like really teaching.
Most of these people that I've mentioned of recent times are British artists, and it seems to me that the British people, and certainly the British artists, have always been very close to you.
If you think about the music now, the British and the European people study the American music like history. I mean, they can tell me. I had interviews today and people are telling me things that I had totally forgot. It's that opposites attract, I think, of like how we, the Americans, think and write and sing our songs, and it's for what reason that it influenced the UK, I don't know, but they love that music, you know, so I liked how they changed it, you know, so that's the attraction.
We talked a bit about the lyrics earlier on, and obviously you said that they're important to you. Do you think that too many artists do not pay enough attention to what they're singing?
I don't know. I don't know the mentality of what happens with an artist. Sometimes they probably don't even care as long as they could get a hit record or get to be a star. I think it could be a number of things. But see, then look at what you're talking about. You're talking about professional people. You're talking about natural performers. You talk about people that's not really posing, that's really into what they're saying, the music and so forth, you know. There's a lot of temptations in the music to want to get into the business, you know. Sometimes I think people might not really care that much about it as long as they could learn the words and get the melody down and get someone to record them. I think that's a practical way of like looking at what happens with what people say. But then some people write rather abstract as well because that's who they are and that's what they like. And So I think it's a number of reasons, you know. But that just means that we just don't, you and I won't go out and get those, right? We'll have to go over and get something that we can communicate with. I think that music artistically just moves like any form of art. And I think people do it for many different reasons, for liking it or for not liking it, or for the success or the need of the desire.
The lyrics to Two People is a fairly romantic description of relationship. Does this mean that you yourself are a romantic?
Two People. I thought that was an extremely romantic song. And that's another one I teased Terry on. Two people. I thought it was a cutesy song again, you know, and I could see people going, oh, I really like that song, you know. I didn't get that involved with that particular song. I liked Paradise Is Here in terms of that type of ballad. That was one that I took. I liked it, but it wasn't my type of ballad, so to speak, in that sense. Still like it, still do it, still enjoy it, but we're talking about, it had no special significance except that I could relate to the, you know, the story because it was well written.
I have been told that you have converted to Buddhism. Now, how did this religious development come about?
I've been practicing 10 years Buddhism. When I started, it was just being introduced for 2 years. So that was like 12 years ago that it started in California. And there was a girl working at the recording studio that was talking about it, and she told me about it, and I decided to test it to see, because my religion was Baptist, and which was given to me by my parents because they were basically Baptist background. But this was one I made the decision for, because it's like after becoming a woman, your views and things are different. So I liked, how do you call the scientific view as for my life. It made sense to me. It taught me something different that Baptists had not taught, so that was comfortable for me, and I started practicing.
Would you say that this religion now is the most important factor in your life?
A part of my life. It has become a part of my way of thinking, a part of how I live, and from that practice I'm becoming happy.
How does it affect your daily life?
A way of thinking, less stress, blame. Like, I think if I read this book, I wouldn't become angry at this person, because I have a different view of how the life goes now and what would obviously be happening with these two people's lives. Maybe there was something that had to be lived through, so to speak. It's another entirely way of thinking and living from the Oriental view. I mean, you know, it came from the Orient. So sometimes we just think our world is the only one and this is the only way of thinking, but there are other people in the world that have other concepts of life. And so there's a world that believe this way, part of the world, and it made sense to me, so I started to practice.
You partook in Band Aid and Live Aid for Africa in 1985. Has this movement, do you think, altered the attitudes towards rock artists?
I thought for many years, because I never did drugs, I never drank, and I never smoked. And I've always thought that people put rock and roll people down simply because of the reputation of other people. In other words, it was like rock and roll people aren't intelligent, they're not real people, or good people, or whatever, you know. And I think that got the people to stand up and listen and say, hey, these are people that pack halls, football stadiums. These are people that are successful. And there are people that like what these people do. And then when that happened, then all of a sudden they said, well, maybe there is a possibility that these people are all right. Cruel, but that's the world and that's the life. I always knew that there were a lot of good people in rock and roll music. I'm in rock and roll music. I've been there forever. There are a lot of wonderful people. But they are not classical singers. They're not, they're rock and roll. They're free music loving people, you know, and they live their life a bit more freely. So I think that's why I was basically put down. I think more and more now, a lot of the people are coming out of themselves to make that kind of statement. I certainly have, by writing the book and saying, well, here I am. I'm a rock and roll person. You know, I'm respectable. You don't think so, but I think I am. and I haven't done anything that I feel is disrespectful. So more and more people are getting a little bit of a different view because of that, and the rock and roll people are feeling a little bit more freer to show that they do have the tenacity to make some statement